Emily Chang spent 2 years interviewing 300 people about the bro culture in Silicon Valley for her hot new book, Brotopia. She stopped by Fox 5 to talk to me about the book and why it's beyond time we get more women in tech and break up the boys club.
Brotopia is about how women have been left out of the greatest wealth creation in the history of the world. And in my mind, the title sort of captures this idea that Silicon Valley is a modern utopia where anyone can change the world or make their own rules if they're a man.
In her first book, Brotopia, Emily Chang, host of Bloomberg Technology, blows up the toxic sexist culture that's rampant in Silicon Valley.
I spoke to women who were invited to strip clubs and bondage clubs at Uber in the middle of the day. Susan Fowler, an engineer at Uber, is propositioned for sex her first day on the job by her manager. She takes screenshots of it. This is all happening over the company chat system. And she tells HR, and they say, we're not going to do anything about this because he's a high performer.
So how is this similar to, and how is it different from kind of what we saw on Wall Street in years past?
As I was writing this book, people kept saying to me, well, Silicon Valley can't possibly be worse than Wall Street. Well, in fact, it is. If you look at the top banks, women and men are about 50-50. The banks have a lot of work to do in leadership roles. But in Silicon Valley, women are 25% of computing jobs, 7% of investors. Women-led companies get 2% of funding.
And the pay gap is astounding.
And I fully believe that the people who are taking us to Mars and building self-driving cars and who have, given us rides at the push of a button, they can hire women and pay them fairly. The pay gap in Silicon Valley is 5 times the national average.
Still don't believe that gender discrimination in Silicon Valley is that bad? Just ask someone who sat on both sides of the table.
I interviewed a young woman, an engineer who works at Uber, who for the first 20 years of her life was presenting as a man. And as soon as she started presenting as a woman, her life completely changed. She said people started interrupting her in meetings.
Emily talks a lot about Uber in her book. They have had huge problems with company culture and gender discrimination, but they do have a new CEO and they're making dramatic changes. They're also not the only ones with these kinds of issues. PayPal and venture firms like Kleiner Perkins and Sequoia Capital have all been accused of and are dealing with gender inequality. Emily believes it is a widespread problem in Silicon Valley, and the best way to start changing it is simple: hire more women.